Word media. Media refers to the combination of the physical objects used to communicate or mass media communication through physical objects such as radio, television, computers, telephone, mobile film, etc. It also refers to any object used to communicate media messages. Media are source of credible information in which contents are provided through editorial process determined by journalistic values. Therefore, editorial accountability can be attributed an organization or a legal person. In the past, if one wished to react to an editorial article, one had to write the editor. The letter would take a day or two to reach the editorial desk through the post office. This process is now called snail mail. At present, when a viewer hears a news on radio or television, the viewer can send an email, electronic mail, or text mail to the editor, which will be received right after one sends it. In the 70s and 80s, Filipino who work abroad, especially in the Middle East, sent messages to their families by mail using the postage stamp or the telephone. But telephone calls were expensive, especially for overseas calls. The other means of communication used was the cassette tapes. The family members would record their voice, sing song to the loved ones abroad and record them on cassette tapes. These tapes were sent through the post office mail that would take a week or more to reach the loved ones in another country. From the start of the 21st century, communication became very easy and not so expensive. One can get a DSL connection with a telephone landline and chat the whole night without worry expensive telephone bills. One can talk and see the loved ones in another country using the Skype. One can send messages with no postage stamp, and these messages can receive right after it's sent through the email in the internet. Media communication has physical as well as virtual media that can instantly send messages to the different parts of the Philippines as well as different parts of the world. Some media have become obsolete, like the telegram, and some newspaper companies are also closing shops because the people seldom Locate, evaluate, effectively use, and communicate information in its various formats. Information literacy is the keystone of the lifelong learning. A person becomes information literate when he has learned to maximize all the kinds of information sources in finding answers to his inquiries. Look at the table below. This is a table of indicators of the big six information literacy. The six skills: the task definition, information seeking strategies, location and access, use of information, the synthesis, and the evaluation. A few centuries ago, when the king of a particular country would like to inform the people about the laws and announcement, a messenger would go to the public place like the market. The king's messenger carried a roll scroll which was handwritten and with a loud voice could read whatever information the king would like the people to hear. Information dissemination was oral and written. Education was very expensive during those days because books were handwritten and only the affluent families could afford to hire tutors in the 3 R's: the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic. But when the discovery of the printing press by the Chinese, information dissemination became affordable. Books were printed for mass distribution. The affluent no longer had the exclusive privilege to get education. Later, the newspaper was developed to provide information not only in the cities but in the countryside as well. In the 20th centuries, radio was invented and information as well as events become easier to disseminate from the urban communities to the rural areas. The people had the choice to listen to the broadcast or watch the news delivered in the television. Forums and other group discussion were done in television programs. Local, national, and international news were flashed in the television. By the last quarter of the 20th century, the new media came and both young, old were able to access information using the internet. Earlier, when the student needed to research, the student would stay in the library the whole day and even go to the other libraries to gather materials for the research. Now, as long as the student has the internet connection, he or she does not need to go to the library to gather materials. The student can gather materials in the comfort of his or her home. When one needs to go a certain location or he or she not familiar with the location, she needs to go to the Google to Google the information that she wants. While traveling to search particular place, use the GPS to search the described distance of a person from the place he is trying to locate. Information disseminate has gone a long way with the advent of the new media. People have discovered directions to solve information problems. The telegram met its natural death, and the texting messaging has made communication faster and cheaper. Application for employment is sent through the email. Company replies and appointment sent through mobile phone, text messages, or email as well. The third one, the technology literacy. Given the idea that man thinking animal, it was not a surprise for our early ancestor to discover technology. Consequently, such milestone paved the way for an easy way of living. And today, as we continue to reinvent and redefine the world technology, we also continue to elevate and improve our life as modern individuals. Technology is defined as the science and industry engineering to invent useful things or to solve problems. Through the years, it has galloped over different phases. For example, from traditional telephones to smartphones, from transistor radios to podcasts, from papers to electronic books. The luxury utilizing such advancements never stop us to crave for more. Perhaps the innate nature of man being endlessly satisfied served as one of the reasons why this phenomenon never ceased. And the advent of the modern technology can be considered as one of the obvious indicators. In the early years of technology, some people say that humans are distinct from other animals because of their intellectual capacity. A tree, for example, has been utilized extensively when mans learn its function. Besides, besides from bearing fruits, hence it may also as a shelter, and the other parts may be used for other purposes. This kinds of knowledge was applied to other things that had potential to be used in other various ways. In fact, this ability has eventually resorted to the information of different tools that facilitate man's ways of living. The early tools during the prehistoric era were fashioned for two basic purposes, cutting and scraping. These purposes could not have been achieved without the presence of the most suitable kind of stone. This certain stone was able to provide sharp edges to other stones to achieve their essential purposes, such as chopping, cutting, and hunting. Man's knowledge and use of tools did not end there. As the quest for modern technology continued and other possibilities that were potentially designed to aid man's way of living were eventually invented. One of the significant contributions of man in fire, this was discovered by Peking man 500,000 years ago in China. Some expert claims that this distribution had already been discovered much earlier in Africa. Nevertheless, no one can deny the fact that without the discovery of the fire, things could not be in the way that they were to be. From its simple purpose of roasting meat and root vegetables, providing warmth, this necessity has definitely been involved in other important purposes. The advent of technology, the advent of the modern technology. Today, everything is just a click away because of the recent innovations. People all over the globe have become interconnected. Besides, the use of conventional media like television, radio, newspaper, and magazines, forms of other social media, have also affected mostly everyone's life. As discussed previously, the emergence of different social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, has taken the world by storm. These sites were designed to cater to the rising demands of social media consumer. One can now post personal status, share photos, use application and simply apps with no hassle to reach the global communication. Smartphones have literally outdated conventional cellular phones. The gadget, aside from offering calls and text messages, also features the mentioned apps, and most of them are now affordable. Laptops have become more sophisticated. Some are smaller than usual, sophisticated and sleek, and the latest models even offer touch screen features. This gadget have also dramatically evolved from its traditional ancestor to the form of early computers units, television, beepers, and others. Today, modern technology has escalated this gadget through the integration of more sophisticated, advanced, and friendly user. For example, in just one tablet, application of various types can now be easily stored, games, utilize camera, and other. According to studies, 72% of internet users are actively engaged in social media. 89% of those are between 19 to 29 years old, It is also important to take note that 60% of these users range from 50 to 60 years old and above. Meanwhile, 43% of them 65 years old and up. Hence, in order to practice responsibility, the issue, the last one, the issue of the modern technology. The use of technology has extensively affected the people's lives. It tends to become transparent to a certain extent that it stumbles on ethical concern. While this book will discuss this specific issue about modern the modern use of technology in different chapter, it's important to know at this point that there are indeed positive and negative effects of technology. Having a vast access basically on everything can be both beneficial and detrimental. Perhaps it is just important to remember that technology advancement should always be accompanied by social responsibility. In order to practice responsibility, it is important to remember that technology literacy is the responsible means of using various technologies and tools in order to meet one's goals. In acquiring and giving the right information without knowing such technology, no matter how advanced it is, will be worthless. Now, you can proceed to your first module to answer your SIT work, quiz, and weekly assessment. Thank you.